Today I'm going to be teaching you how to edit photos in Adobe Lightroom in under 20 minutes. Now, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Skillshare, but we're going to talk about them a little bit later in the video. I don't want to waste any of your guys' time, so specifically I want to hop right into Adobe Lightroom and get started. So I have my photo pulled up here, and the first thing I want to mention about this photo is the lighting. Lighting is key to having a good photo and especially editing your photo. If you're going to bring it into Adobe Lightroom, a filter isn't going to help out a poorly lit photo. So make sure you have good lighting. Look up some lighting techniques that help for photos, specifically with portrait. If you just have some sort of good lighting that contrasts your background, you'll probably have something halfway decent. Now, with that being said, we're going to hop right into the editing aspect of this. You have your good photo, you have some nice lighting, some decent lighting, something that you like. Now, the first thing that I specifically do is I have pre-based like presets that I go over for my photos specifically. So I kind of honestly just kind of look through my presets and see which one fits the photo the best. It really isn't too difficult. I do have all these presets available, link in the description below where you can get those. I also do have a free community that you can join to get those presets. Those are all free. They're all available to anyone who watches this video. You can go check those out. But with that, I will continue here. As you can see, I'm literally just scrolling through when it comes to all these presets. I'm just looking to see which one I like the most, which one I feel fits it the most. Now, some of these more creative ones don't really fit the bill. I don't really like how it looks. Specifically, a lot of these creative ones are more for wide-angle shots. They're not necessarily meant for portrait shots. So, specifically, different presets will have different meanings, different intentions in mind, obviously. So, something to keep in mind of. So you want to find something, specifically in this scenario, I'm looking for something that is a bit more portrait-based. And I saw this. This one really stuck out to me, and I really like it because it has like a cool blue hue, and I just like the way that looks, honestly, in this photo. So I'm going to select this one. Even though this one is more meant for island times, I ended up liking how this looked. It popped out to me. So I'm going to select that preset first. I'm going to just close out of the preset icon there, and then I'm going to kind of take a peek at it. I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit, see if there's any areas that I want to fix up real quick for blemishes. Like I noticed a little zit here that I'm going to end up cleaning up. Let me see if there's any other stuff that I might want to clean up. I'm not seeing too much else. Maybe right down here I might clean this up real quick, but just kind of taking a good note of those, keeping that mental note in for the future there. So with that real quick, we're going to go in and adjust the light settings here. So I'm going to just kind of like slide the exposure around a little bit and see if I want it brighter or darker, see what I think that makes the photo, how it makes the photo feel. And I'm kind of liking it going a bit darker just because I like the feel of that. On the side, there's a little bit of a glow from one of the lights that I was using. So I kind of want to try to reduce that as much as possible. So I'm just going to reduce the exposure there. And then I'm going to play around with my contrast, see if I like it. I typically like more contrasty photos. I like the way it makes the darks and the blacks in the scene a lot darker, and then obviously it makes the highlights and the whites a lot brighter. So I like the way contrasty photos look. It really makes them punch out a lot, and it really makes your subject and the highlights stand out a lot. It doesn't allow for things to blend quite as much. So once again, playing around with the highlights, just kind of sliding it around, see what I think. Literally, I'm just looking at the photo and letting the photo guide me in what I should be looking at, and specifically like what I think of what's happening. So I like the way I boosted the highlights up a little bit because I did want the highlights to show through a little bit more. So once again, we're just going to keep doing the same thing for different parts of the photo. I'm moving this shadow slider down. I'm noticing I don't want to do it because it is kind of taking my hair and it's kind of just blending it in with the background, and I don't necessarily want to do that. So I am going to bump my shadows up. And you'll see a little bit later, I'm going to add a mask in for my hair specifically. So that way it should help it stand out a little bit from the background when I do that. So yeah, next up we have the whites here. I'm going to very quickly go through that, probably just bumping it up a little bit. And then in terms of the blacks here, once again, this is very similar to the shadows. I'm not going to touch it because I do want to see what I can do with my hair here to see if I can get it to separate. Pretty sure I will be able to, but still want to make sure that. And then for the curve, we have a simple S curve. It's not very dramatic, but one thing I do in a lot of my S curves specifically, at the bottom of the S curve, I typically like to bring it up because it adds this almost like, it's not like a grayish effect. I don't know necessarily what it's called, but it kind of as you can see, as I lift it up, it kind of takes the darks in the scene and it gives them more light, which adds kind of a cool effect. Because this is what it would look like if it's all the way down, and then this is what it looked like if I bring it up. That's what it looks like. So weirdly, I actually kind of almost like this one with it all the way down, even though I typically do stuff like that. I almost want to just leave this one down, but maybe I won't, because I think it was here to start. I think I'm actually going to do something like that, where it's very minimal. I still like the way that looks. It's honestly more of a straight line, but it's still just a very slight S-curve. And then in terms of the RGB tones here, I have, once again, S-curves that are kind of just hitting each part of the tones. So we have the shadows, the midtones, and then we have the highlights, and then we have some in-between points where I'm just kind of making small tweaks. Once again, a lot of that is just to get certain colors to pop in certain areas, in certain different tones. The biggest thing that I make a note of when it comes to this, if I'm creating a brand new one from scratch, is I just place 5 points. So it'll automatically start out with let me see here if I can quickly reset this one. I don't believe I can. Actually, let me go like this. Nope, that's going to delete the photo. Here we go. I can delete the channel points. So when it starts out, it should just be a straight line. And honestly, I think it even just goes like that. But here's how we're going to do it real quickly. Walk through. I'm just going to put 3 points on that. I'm going to make a basic S-curve. And then I am going to tilt it down a little bit. And then I remember that there was a second one over there. So specifically, I am going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to match it up with other S-curves. We want all the S-curves to be very, very similar, but have slight tweaks. So that way in certain areas, other colors pop rather than just kind of being all the same in all the areas. That way you'll allow for different colors of the RGB spectrum to kind of pop out in different areas. So with that, that has been all for the curve. Next up, we are going to go into color. Now for the color side of things. We're basically using this to adjust our white balance in the photo itself, which I already have it set based off the preset. If you want to obviously copy these settings, I haven't mentioned this yet throughout the video. Obviously, you can just copy the settings that I'm using as well and kind of create your own preset. But once again, I do have these presets all available for free that you can go download. So I definitely recommend getting that downloaded. Go check all of that out so you can get it for free. And you're really just adjusting to see what you think, see how you like the looks of it. So I want it to keep this blue hue, so I'm going to keep it pretty much where it's at. I don't really want to change the main colors too much just because I kind of like where those are at. So I'm actually going to even undo what I just did because I like that. And then now I'll play around a little bit with the vibrance and the saturation. The vibrance brings up your secondary colors within the photo, some of the stuff that doesn't pop nearly as much. And then your saturation brings up, or brings down, I guess, a lot of the primary colors that are being used. Not necessarily primary colors as in your primary colors on a color wheel, your most prominent colors within your photo. And then same with vibrance is your more non-dominant colors, so within your photo. And I'm just going to bump the saturation just a hair, and the vibrance just a hair too. So I'm going to go to +2. I like the way that looks. And then we're going to go into the color mixer, which is where a lot more of, my opinion, the magic's done. Specifically with, you can adjust specific, the hue, saturation, and luminance of different colors. So this is where a lot of the magic gets done. As you can see, if I just What I like to do is I like to just kind of like play around with the saturation slider real quick. You can see what you're adjusting. So you can kind of take a peek at it. I don't necessarily want my reds to be gone, but I don't want them to be super prominent. So I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to darken it a little bit just because that kind of gives me a little bit more of a tan look, and I like the look of that. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I don't want to go too far orange because like it almost starts making my face look yellow. And we're going to eventually adjust the orange slider there. So for reds, typically I'll like to keep those a little bit more red. But once again, it's a photo per photo basis where you kind of have to almost just re-look over everything real quick. So we're going to go over to oranges. We're going to do the same thing. We're just playing around with it. We're just checking it all out, seeing kind of how it all adjusts to that. And I do want to bump the saturation up. Once again, make it a little bit darker. Want to skew a little bit more towards like the orangish side if I can. Mainly, it's honestly going to probably even just stay in the middle. I'm just going to keep it right there because I like how that looks. Yellows, we're just going to bump that around, see if it does anything. It's really only changing the lights in the background. So I actually do want those to pop a little bit more. So I'm going to bump the saturation on that quite a bit. And then we're going to make those lights just darker. We're going to drop the luminance down. Any greens in here? I'm not seeing any greens, so I'm not even going to touch that one. Blues. This does affect it a little bit. I guess this would be more of the cyans, but it affects it a little bit. You can see down in like the t-shirt area, it is affecting that. So I'm just going to leave that where it is because I do like the way the blues look there. Now, true blues. It affects this a lot more, as you can see. So I'm not going to bump this all the way up, but I'm actually going to Command Z / Option Z / Control Z, depending upon whatever device you're on. And then, yeah, I like the way that looks just instantly. And then I am going to bring up the luminance, honestly, on that, just because I want that to pop out. I don't believe there's any purples in here. So, I mean, somehow in this area it's picking up purples, but I mean, I'm not even going to touch that. I'm just going to leave that be just because that's such a small area. Now I'm noticing there is pink, and it's around my eyes for some reason, which is odd. But I guess that, that happened, I guess. So I'm gonna drop the luminance down on that a little bit. I'm going to bring that try to bring it more towards a reddish color if I can. And then we're going to kind of just leave that there, I suppose. I kind of like the way that looks. But yeah, I like the way that ends up turning out. And then next up, we're going to go over color grading. All of this stuff works really well if you're trying to grow on social media, being an aspiring photographer, anything along those lines when it comes to learning more about the photography industry and doing a lot in the photography industry. And with that, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare, which I'm using constantly. I'm using it to learn more about social media, learn more about photography, just using it overall to boost my skills. Specifically, the thing I've been learning the most is social media content creation, because ultimately it is the marketing fuel for my business. Skillshare is the largest online community for learning across multiple different industry, with some of the industry leaders giving lessons across film, illustration, photography, design, and many other skills that you might be trying to learn. Skillshare can help you take your passions, your career, your hobbies to an even higher level by getting more skills, getting more knowledge, and learning more. They have tons of other classes that you can study, including a Notion masterclass, a YouTube success class with MKBHD, and a more low-key one in a creative writing bootcamp, which is extremely important for anyone trying to be a better storyteller. As well, they have specific learning paths that are curated collections of skills that you're trying to learn so you can be more specified in your field, including learning paths on growing your first YouTube channel, growing your business, and more. Additionally, you can learn more this fall with their brand new classes, Creative Careers, Creative Inspiration, and their brand new AI and Innovation class. Go join Skillshare today and learn even more to progress your creative career even further. The first 500 people to use the link in the description of this video will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. And with that, let's continue learning about editing in Adobe Lightroom. So for color grading here, as you can see, I basically just have the shadows tinted a little bit more towards the blue side, and then I have the highlights tinted a little bit more towards the yellow side. Now, I'm actually not going to remove these because these things are a little bit, like, they're kind of weird in how they move, and well, I guess I already just decided to move it. Anyways, so as you can see, they're kind of like, they're really like sticky, I guess is the term. It's something I wish Adobe Lightroom would kind of fix, because I do like using this feature. It just is really like, it doesn't operate very well in my opinion. But overall, I still end up using it, just very slightly on both of the shadow and the highlights, just to give a little bit more touch to some of those details, and then I just leave the midtones alone. So make sure to put the blending all the way up, so that way it's not as like choppy with how the colors are, but instead blends a lot more. So you can choose which side you want to blend it more towards. I want to blend it more towards the higher side. So. And then with that, our last one, we're just going to bump the clarity up. I typically do this on a lot of my photos, not on all of them, but I do it on a fair amount of them. So I'm going to do that. And with that, we are going to hop over. We're going to click on the eraser tool here. We are going to zoom in to our photo. I'm trying to remember which one is the zoom here. It looks like I have to zoom before doing that. You zoom in before doing that, and then click my eraser tool. That just kind of goes to show how much I actually edit on Adobe Lightroom on my computer. I actually don't do it a whole lot. I typically do it on my phone because it's a lot easier. So I'm just going to get rid of that blemish. I have like some little scar here too. I'm going to get rid of that real quick. And then we're going to go back over here. And then I remembered there was a little thing down here I wanted to remove as well. So we're just going to quickly go right here, and then we're just going to remove that real quick because I don't like the look of it. We're going to give it a couple brush strokes. Bada bing, bada boom, and there we go. Simple as that. Let's see here. Was there anything else in here? No, I'm okay with the rest of it. The rest of it looks pretty good. Now, last up, we are just going to add a quick mask here. Now, for that, the nice thing about Adobe is you can just use the subject mask, which is pretty nice. So I'm just going to click that, wait for it to load, and let it detect the subject there. So it'll take a minute, and look at that, like clockwork, detects the subject. All right, perfect. Now with that, we are going to adjust the light because I want to make my hair kind of stick out a little bit. So I'm just going to boost that up a little bit here. I like the hair there. I don't like everything else. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click subtract, and this is going to subtract from that mask. I'm going to click brush, and then I am going to adjust my brush size to make it a lot bigger, and then I am just going to paint over everything that I don't want adjusted. So I'm just going to do a little bit of painting here, so on and so forth. And I mainly want it to hit this back section. So I don't even want, oh, what the heck just happened? Let me just click right back there. And then let me just continue on with what I was doing. Let me just go like that. And then I only want to have it hit this back section of hair. So it's a very specific edit. And then I'm just checking over on this to see what areas are affected. I don't want all of that. I just want this specific section. So, and then I like that right there. And then real quickly here, let me see. Where is the button? I'm a little bit a ways away from my monitor right now. So real quick, I'm going to hide it and then unhide it. So it makes a little bit of a difference. As you can see, it kind of helps make that pop a little bit. And that has been everything for editing a photo in Adobe Lightroom. Now, with that, I would like to say thank you for watching this far in the video, helping you learn a bit more skills when it comes to editing in Adobe Lightroom. So overall with that, yeah, this has been a good video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Definitely have a lot more tutorials planned out. Check out the link in my bio. I do have that free link to Skillshare, who sponsored the video. Want to give a big shout out to them. You can go learn a lot more about photography, video editing. You can learn about different creative practices, creative writing, starting a YouTube channel. You can learn all of that. Link down in the description of the video, as well as different tools and materials you can use to become a better photo editor, video editor down below. Check all that stuff out. So with that, that's been all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed and gained a little bit of more knowledge. So with that, hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace.